and welcome to this episode of Connected. It is episode 596, in fact. I have the absolute honor of thanking our sponsors this week, Sentry and Fundera. And I'm just pulling this one out a little bit, stretching it, because I don't usually get much plaudits at this point of the show. You know, I'm Mike, you'll know me, man of the people. And I am very happy to introduce to you the keynote chairman, Federico Viticci. Hi, Federico.
An introduction from the common folk.
I got to keep you grounded, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mike. We're also joined by my illustrious colleague, the annual chairman, Stephen Hackett. Hello, Stephen.
Are we president and vice president? We're co-chairman?
Who's vice president? I'm throwing this one in the middle. Who's vice president?
I think keynote chairman is slightly below annual chairman.
Are you going to take that, Federico?
No, I think we are co-chairman.
Co-chairman?
Remember how?
No. You said co-chairman. He called you vice president.
We're or Federico's saying we're like BlackBerry that had two CEOs for a minute.
That's what I was gonna say. That they had two CEOs. They were co-CEOs.
They were
an incredible concept.
If you've never seen that BlackBerry movie, by the way,
it's great.
Really good movie. Really good movie. Very much recommended.
Yes, same. Really good. Okay, we have some follow-up, and we have perhaps my favorite follow-up in years.
Yes.
We were speaking about how many floppy disks it would take to play an episode of Connected. And a friend of the show, D. Griffin Jones, basically compressed Connected down to 1.3 megabyte chunks so you could play it on floppy disks. You have to go look at this on Mastodon. And I'm going to have Jim play a little bit of it here so you get an example.
From Relay, this is Connected, episode 594. Today's show is brought to you by Sentry and Copeland. I'm your keynote chairman, Federico Viticci, and I'm joined by fellow annual chairman, Stephen Hackett.
We've never sounded better.
It sounded much better than I expected it would.
It's surprisingly recognizable.
Yes. What is it? 2 kilobits per second?
I think so.
Yeah.
I figured it would be a nightmare. But no, you can just understand us. Also, I'm going to put a link in the show notes. D. Griffin also said if you shared with us that if you would like to download a zip file that contains all 12 parts in 1.3 megabyte chunks, so you could, I don't know, do whatever you want with it. They also gave us that, so I'm going to put that in the show notes too.
Yeah, it's incredible. Maybe we should just put that in a feed somewhere so people can listen to the whole show.
In 12 episodes?
Yeah.
This feels like something you might want to do on a Sunday, you know?
Yeah. I have a copy of this zip file on my NAS. I do.
We were talking about this in Connected Pro, Stephen's storage.
Yeah.
Desires.
It means I will never need to buy an 8 terabyte Mac again.
That's not true.
No, I'm down. I have just 2 terabytes of stuff on this MacBook Pro now.
Okay, but that's not true though.
I mean, yeah, I'll do a 4, but I'm not updating anytime soon.
You will go to 8 again. You will.
Listener Steven, not me, wrote in, but they spelled their name correctly. The PH, that's nice. This is the ongoing feedback about how Mike is an iPod dock truther and doesn't think they're real.
iPad. You did it again.
Did I say iPod again?
Yes. I think whenever the word dock appears,
that's what it is.
You say iPod. I mean, that was a time, right? iPod docks were thing for a long time. Do you remember iPod Lounge?
I think
it became iLounge.
I do. I read iPod Lounge all the
daily.
Time.
Yep.
Anyways, so Steven wrote in. They did not end up going with the Satechi dock because Pluggable makes an 8-in-1 dock that compromises USB speed, but makes up for it because it's adjustable. The stand is adjustable.
Okay, but this is my point, right? This is the exact point I was making. It doesn't matter what you go with. The point was there are many options available, and I just did not think that the Satechi one, is going to change the world. So I will take this as a win. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes.
David wrote in and said, I have an upsetting thought regarding Lil Finder Guy. If Apple hasn't savagely taken down Steven's Lil Finder Guy empire, does that mean Apple has no plans to do anything with him except for the random cameos in TikTok videos? If so, what was the point? This is a very good thought experiment.
It's upsetting, but I feel like Apple's pretty forgiving. There's websites with the word Mac in the name.
Do you? That's what you think?
I mean, that's what I'm going to say.
Forgiving company.
I'm going to say that not because they told me to say that.
Right.
There's not someone sitting right next to me right now.
Okay.
Holding a aluminum and glass knife. I hope they continue using Lil Finder, but we'll see. We will see.
Well, there's been no sign of life so far.
No, but I am getting pictures of people printing them and sharing them with me, which is fun. Yeah.
Sam wrote in and said, this is in regards to us talking about the AirPods Max 2 last time. Sony released the foldable WH-1000XM4s a month before the first AirPods Max. In the time between then and the AirPods Max 2, Sony released a non-foldable design for the XM5, faced backlash, and released the foldable XM6s almost a year ago. So it's very funny to be like, Apple changed nothing, and in that time, Sony did a thing and backtracked on it and released another thing in between.
Yeah, that's one of those things like we're closer to World War II than World War II was to the birth of Jesus. Like one of those things.
Wow, is that true? Wow.
Well, that's maybe an extreme example.
That one's wild. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's man. I saw some people ordering AirPods Max. I guess the order went up yesterday, and it's like, why? Like, what are you doing? I don't know.
They're being professionals. Why do you have a MacBook Neo?
Because I need a downstairs computer. Maybe they have the downstairs
Maybe
headphones.
they need downstairs AirPods Max.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Some Fallout. Very exciting Fallout. I got to be on Mac Break Weekly this week. So
very nice.
Jason was hosting. I got to join him and Andy and Christina, and I think we had a great time. So link will be in the show notes. It's one of those moments. Mac Break Weekly was like the first tech podcast I ever listened to, and so to be on
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So to be on it all these years later was really fun. I think we had some great conversations. So you go check it out.
Episode 1017.
I know.
Unbelievable.
I know. It's quite the run. I had to double check that episode number when I linked to it. Because surely their URLs aren't the episode numbers. Like, oh, yes, it is.
I like that you were playing to the crowd with your pick of the week of a terminal command to hide the Tahoe menu icons. You were really, you're going for it there.
Yeah.
I like it. Appreciate that.
I do what I can. Big news. Apple, get this, is going to hold a developer conference this summer.
Well, this was actually surprising news because they announced it on Monday.
They did. I kind of thought it would be Tuesday or Wednesday. But I think they wanted to clear space for AirPods Max 2 pre-orders.
I mean, you know what? I guess so, right?
They
what
wanted to
else
make
is
sure the
reason?
website could withstand all the traffic. June 8th through 12th. It's going to follow the same format they've done since COVID, where it's there's an in-person event with streaming, and the sessions will be online. If you're a developer, you can apply for a ticket. If you're press, you just have to wait until 2 days before to find out. An interesting note, I think all three of us clocked this. I'm going to read this from the newsroom release. WWDC 26 will spotlight incredible updates for Apple platforms, including AI advancements and exciting new software and developer tools.
Yeah, it's interesting they called it AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not Apple Intelligence. That's a choice that they've made.
Can't call it Apple Intelligence when it's made by Google.
Or I wonder if they're going to back away from that brand a little bit. Because that brand is tainted.
Maybe.
Well, I guess so is Siri. They're all tainted, but...
Well, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but it does seem like they're maybe thinking about doing some of that kind of stuff anyway. But I think it makes more sense to just call it AI. Like, stop calling it. Stop trying to make fetch happen kind of scenario with Apple Intelligence. It's like we don't, you don't need to have your own brand for it at this point because, I mean, I think when Apple introduced it as Apple Intelligence, they were trying to be at a place of like, we are better than everyone else, and they didn't ship any of the features. So it kind of like takes the shine off the like, we're different and better. It's like, they didn't do anything ultimately, except a couple of things that most people don't really seem to enjoy. But it was interesting that they called it out. I mean, I feel like they probably, considering where we are, right, and the fact that we still have not got any of the features that were promised this year, I think they know we're not going to get any of those features before WWDC, and so why not call it out specifically here so that people know that we are still working on this stuff. That's kind of how I read it. Because I don't know why they would be so specific. You know what I mean? They don't usually talk about like, oh, we're going to have some great features for continuity as part of the WWDC announcement.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're trying to get out ahead of, I don't know. The damage is so bad. We actually talked about this on MacBreak Weekly. Like, they're in such a hole that they dug themselves with this stuff that I think they've got to go hard at it if it's ready. And my word, if they promise something that they can't deliver again, I don't even want to
I just think they don't make the promise, right? Like, they just won't. They won't promise.
But how do you do that? It's just it's very interesting to think about how they could manage this. There's a very fine balance to walk, I think, for them, and I think it's going to be a very interesting time to see where they are.
Yep. But it's nice to have the date on the schedule.
Yeah. Yep. I'll be there. I'm going to go hang out. So
nice.
Say hi.
We'll be bringing my mother-in-law in so I can work as late as I want.
Nice. Maybe she wants to go to WWDC. You're keeping her from going.
That's a good question. I will ask. I'll say, were you interested?
Do you want to go hang out with Steven?
Then she can go. Yeah. Yes. That's it. She's like, I want to go.
Does she know who I am?
Well, yeah. I mean, she was at our wedding.
That's right.
You were at the wedding.
I was.
So.
I was at the wedding. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 10 years in 2028. So
it's 8 years this year. Is another way of saying that. Okay.
If you can remember what year it currently is,
that's true.
Then you would say that. But if you don't, you just say what I said.
Okay, I have a story about that for y'all.
Okay. Yep.
I was in a meeting the other day, and we were just doing some planning. And I definitely thought for like 2/3 of the meeting that we were in April and not in March.
Right.
I didn't say anything, but I was like, why does everyone keep messing these things up? Like, oh, next month, like April 17th is like, no, I don't understand.
Just sitting there, he's like, what a bunch of idiots.
What a bunch of morons. And then I glanced up at my menu bar. I was like, oh, it's March. Very confusing.
Really good.
Very confusing.
I know it's obvious and like we know, but I cannot believe we're already looking towards WWDC, like it's happening.
Yeah,
now.
it's like 9 weeks away.
Yeah, it's like that. It's coming up because I don't know if what you guys are doing or not, but like the Apple at 50 stuff is occupying a lot of my time and attention right now.
Yes,
and so like thinking about that, and that's like the whole month essentially, and then we're like into WWDC speculation time by the time all of that's done. So it's like, woof.
Yeah, Jason and I have been talking a lot about Apple at 50, and it's just a lot going on. I have found it to be intimidating to write about it. Like I've tried a couple of times, and I just got nothing.
I mean, you are the history guy, so you.
I know, but that's the thing.
Something.
It's like it's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
What do I pick? You
just gotta take chips at it. Like just tiny chunks.
I think so. Yeah, it's coming up. Did y'all see the news about ads coming to Apple Maps?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't care because I don't use Apple Maps.
Same. And so to me, this is not like upsetting or surprising because I use Google Maps and Google Maps has lots of ads in it. So it's like, well, yeah, of course, is the way that I expressed my feelings towards this. But lots of other people online seem to be very annoyed about it.
I use Apple Maps a lot, and it's just a really nice experience. And I understand why they're doing it. Like you said, Google Maps does it. If there's any other mapping platforms out there, they probably do it. I just have the thought of like, can we just have one nice place? But that's okay.
I mean, you can have the nice place. It's just going to be underneath a blue box now.
It's true.
It will just continue
And
past then.
I do think my feelings about this are conflated with the increased ad load in the App Store that they've been doing.
So bad. Oh my God. It's so bad.
Just go search for something in the App Store. You got to add at the top, and now you also get to add in the search results. Now, they're in a blue box. They say ad, like they are distinguished, but it's
just such a huge amount of it,
Yeah.
of the search screen now is, you're getting like 2 scrolls and you get one result and then the rest are ads.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough. It's just rough. It's rough. But yeah, I mean, look, I do think that there is a genuine story about small business with ads and mapping software, and I know that this is what they're talking about, but I actually do think that is a thing that could exist. Like small businesses could be able to advertise themselves in their local neighborhood. Like that is a thing you could potentially do, and I do know that. From a business perspective, search ads in the App Store can be beneficial, but it's just a lot of ads everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And it is in conjunction with the new Apple business stuff where they're kind of taking on Google Workspace in a new way. Heaven help you if you put your business email in iCloud, but
I have decided to not put an ounce of my energy into understanding what that suite of tools is. It's just like, I don't really want to know.
It's actually interesting. I had 2 people, one in email and then one in real life, sent me a text like, oh, hey, should I like do this? I'm like, no, just keep using Google Workspace.
No, it's okay. I mean, maybe eventually, but not straight away.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I know about it is it's MDM and other stuff, right? And so, I guess if you're already using their MDM, like maybe this works for you to add in calendars and email or whatever it probably is. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, man. It's not for me.
What if you're using MDA? It's a different thing.
What's that?
It's a drug, I think.
No, MDMA.
No, that's an
old man.
MDMA, Steven.
No, it was a joke. It was like
Is it a joke, though, if you got the joke wrong? Is that a joke?
No, you said MDM, and I said, what if you use MDA?
But it's
MDMA. If you can't tell anybody, it's an NDA.
It's you. The joke was there, but you took away a letter that didn't need taking away.
Okay. I think
Wow.
we're passing like 2 ships in the night. A little bit.
I think it's 2 and 1 ship because me and Federico are definitely in the same ship, and it's not the one that you're in, I'm afraid.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Sentry. Logs are messy. Trying to grep through them and line up with traces and dashboards just to understand one issue isn't it. Sentry, that's Sentry, has logs too, but they've made them usable. Sentry's logs are trace connected and structured, so you can follow the request flow and filter by whatever matters. And because Sentry surfaces the context right where you're debugging, the trace, the relevant logs, the error, and even the session replay, they all land on one timeline, so you're not trying to match timelines or hop between tools. Front end, mobile, back end, whatever you're debugging, Sentry gives you the context you need so you can fix the problem and move on. More than 4.5 million developers use it, including teams at Anthropic, Disney Plus, and here at Relay. We have a freelance developer. He has limited time with us, and Sentry really makes the most of his time because if we have an issue, he can quickly get to the bottom of it. We've been using Sentry for years, long before they were a sponsor, and they really have made the upkeep and development of our custom CMS much easier. So try it for free at Sentry.io. That's Sentry, Sentry.io, and tell them that we sent you. They have a free dev plan for listeners of Connected, so use the code CONNECTED26 to get $100 in credit. That's Sentry.io and the code CONNECTED26 to get $100 in Sentry credits. My thanks to Sentry for their support of the show and Relay.
The information is reporting that Google is giving Apple full access to their Gemini model, which Apple is using for something called distillation. Essentially, Apple will be able to ask queries of Gemini. I'm assuming this is the large model. I'm also assuming that when I'm finished speaking, Federico will have numbers and statistics for this. But essentially, Apple is able to ask queries of Gemini, get a full report of the reasoning and the process that the model went through to get to the result, then take all of that information and use it to train smaller on-device models that Apple can use. To me, this feels like pretty significant access of Gemini. What was your take on this, Federico?
Well, first of all, nice deal that Apple got in terms of having permission to run Gemini in their data centers and also use it for distillation.
I think that's how you make alcohol. Okay, I'm done. I'll stop.
He's really trying.
What should we do with Steven today? Do you have any ideas, Mike? Any thoughts? Any feedback?
I mean, we could. Unfortunately, it's his meeting, so we can't kick him out.
Right.
So I guess we have to push through.
Just sort of wondering, the best course of action.
I think we just have to embrace it. It's like, ha.
No, we love you, Steve. We love you
too.
Most of the time.
We know you're trying.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Are you still on the call, Steven?
I am.
Okay. We love you very much. So first of all, I think it was not obvious that Apple would get the ability to also use Gemini output for distillation. So distillation, I think we mentioned it before. It's the idea that you're basically taking a teacher model, in this case, the big Gemini model that Apple can use, and you're using a smaller, sort of more efficient model, we're going to call it the student model, to transfer some of the knowledge from the teacher to the student. And you mostly do this by sort of taking... there are many different ways to do this, but in simplifying, you take the reasoning output from the bigger model and you use that to teach a smaller model how to get to the same results in a more efficient way.
And I assume this is like, I think both OpenAI and Anthropic have complained about like Asian companies doing. This is what they're talking about when they make those complaints. Okay.
One of the popular, so Alibaba, they make a large language model called Qwen, which is open source. Okay. One of the more popular versions of Qwen 3.5 lately is a version of Qwen that is small enough to run on a bunch of regular consumer grade laptops, but it's been distilled from Opus 4.6. And that makes Anthropic really, really happy, I bet.
Yeah.
But that's the idea. So obviously, interesting, but I have so many questions because first of all, exactly are you distilling it into? Are you taking Gemini output and using it for distillation of Apple Foundation models? Is that what you're doing? You're taking your own models and distilling Gemini 3.1 output? Or is it going to be something else? Not sure. I assume that Apple is taking Gemini output to distill it into Apple Foundation models. That's my assumption.
See, when I read this news, right, because I know there's been a lot of conversation about how long are Apple going to use Gemini, right? And I have fallen into the camp of I think this is a long term partnership because I just don't imagine Apple being able to produce something of this power when all these other companies continue to move forward.
Right.
And when I see something like this, it's like, oh, this to me gives an example. It is another piece of evidence that Google at least believe this is a long-term partnership, because why would they let another company do this otherwise? Because it seems like you're giving away what you're good at for free, essentially.
Yeah. My main concern is that what are these smaller models that are a result of distillation gonna be used for? Because I have a really hard time thinking that you can use distillation to make a model that is going to be at the center of app intents and coordinating tools. Because even big models, like we're talking GPT 5.4, we're talking Opus, we're talking Gemini size models, sometimes they struggle with too many tools, with too many potential integrations. So I don't think they're using distillation to power the system that is going to handle all the app intents, all the things they showed off in 2024. So I think they're using distillation to make self-contained models for very specific tasks. Like, for example, maybe they're going to use distillation to improve to make a model that only handles the cleanup in photos. Or maybe they're going to use distillation to make a model that only handles audio transcription. Like, I think that's what they're doing. But for the more like high level coordination of things like handling complex questions, handling app intents, coordinating across multiple apps, I mean, happy to be proven wrong, but I would be really surprised if distillation is used for that. I think we're going to end up having a collection of self-contained small Apple Foundation models that each does one thing, and they were distilled from Gemini. And why does Gemini happen to be a great model for that? Because at the moment, Gemini is the only big model from a big AI provider that is natively multimodal. It supports pictures, it supports video, it supports audio, it supports all kinds of file attachments, and it even supports live conversations. In fact, they just released a few minutes ago Gemini 3.1 Flash Live, which is what's going to power the live conversations.
Their names
cool name.
are so bad.
They're terrible names, but
just keep putting different descriptors on it and we'll get it.
I think a pretty good model to use for distillation if the goal is to have a bunch of smaller, dedicated models for very different tasks that you want to run on a smartphone. So, nice get from Apple, obviously. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Apple AI and what we might see, the rumor wizard Mark Gurman is reporting for Bloomberg on what he is expecting to see at WWDC. So there's a bunch of things here. So first off is a standalone app for Siri. So a very much a chatbot interface. This is something that had been rumored before that Apple was potentially working on internally, but it was unclear if it was something that they wanted to ship.
Yeah, I think Craig Federighi kind of famously was against a chatbot interface, but that's what all of this stuff is. You know, a lot of this stuff is taking shape exactly like that.
And so this version of I guess it would probably be the Siri app is probably what they will produce here. It will display prior conversations that you can jump back in on. You can pin favorite conversations, search across messages, or the kind of table stakes stuff that you would expect. And the UI will be very reminiscent to iMessage. It was very funny to me that in the report, Mark is like, and it will support light and dark mode. It's like, really, Mark?
Cool.
Wow. Wowzers, what a detail. It should be much more, and also just in general, they're trying to make Siri more conversational than before in both text and voice. A branding of like, quote, Ask Siri will be in lots of places throughout the operating system as like a label or a button. And it will be prompting you as the user to send content to Siri for assistance. Like if you were to highlight text, for example, there would be like a button that might pop up and you could do something with that, or you could do it with files. You know, maybe you select a bunch of files and then maybe you can ask Siri, hey, rename these or something like that. I'm going to read a quote here from the article. The updated Siri, codenamed Campo, is designed to better control features within iPhones and Macs and tap into personal data like messages, notes, and emails to fulfill requests. It also will be able to complete tasks within apps, access news content, and search the open web using Apple-built interfaces and models. So they're still talking about this like controlling of devices and using your information. Earlier on in the episode, I mentioned about, when I think I don't know which one of you beautiful co-hosts it was, suggested that maybe they're moving away from the Apple Intelligence branding. Apple is considering a redesign of the glowing Siri interface that was introduced in iOS 18.
No.
And they're considering moving the main animation to the dynamic island. I read another quote. When processing a request, a pill-shaped indicator labeled searching appears alongside a glowing Siri icon. Once results are ready, the interface expands into a larger translucent panel. With Apple's liquid glass design, users can pull the menu down further to begin conversing back and forth. Seems like they're trying to get a bit of a break from the iOS 18 failures, I guess. Start over again. And in a couple of other bits, Spotlight could be replaced by Siri in 27 with a unified interface that will use personal context to find out more. And Mark says that the current beta of iOS 27 currently includes the personal context and on-screen awareness features, and it's still believed that they will ship this year, but unlikely before iOS 27. App Intents is still under development as well. What do you boys think about this? Stephen, I want to get your feelings on this first, actually. What are you thinking about all of this?
I think it's good that Apple is willing to revisit decisions like the chatbot experience. And I do think that unifying this stuff makes a lot of sense. Like Siri and Spotlight, all these things. Like, I think when people search today, like, I think the line is blurrier than ever of like, I'm searching my device, I'm searching the web, I'm asking for data that's on my device, I'm asking for data that's on the web. And I think Apple needs to respond to that stuff. So I think for the most part, what is in here is encouraging to me. And I think that while I'm sad about the gradient, the rainbow gradient going away, I feel like that design's just really tied to what they did a couple of years ago. And I think it's not that personable. And if they're trying to make Siri more conversational, more friendly, which not everybody wants, by the way, right? Like a bunch of people in their prompting, like, just answer the question, don't glaze me or whatever. But if they're going to do that, it might need some more personality. And so what that looks like, I don't know, but it's interesting to think about.
My hope would be that it would respond to your tone, but ultimately none of these models would really seem able to fully do that. And like, you know, just like, this isn't right. Oh yeah, of course it's not right. I knew that all along. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Federico, what do you think?
I think it's a great idea that they are reconsidering their opinion on the chat experience. Obviously, a lot of look. The simple truth is that a lot of people use chatbots, right?
Yeah.
And the UI clearly works for about. I mean, if you take it all together, just the big three, OpenAI, so ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. Let's say that we are in the ballpark of 1.5 to 2 billion people using these services on a monthly basis.
You know, there's been something interesting recently. I'm not sure if you two have encountered this. That there was this like NBC survey, and it was saying that people don't like AI, right?
Yeah, people say that. Look,
yeah, but like this is the point that I wanted to get to. It's like I believe that survey is correct, but I feel like I'm seeing a lot of like assumptions made that like it means everybody hates AI, and it's like, I understand that, but also, what about the hundreds of millions of people that are using it all the time?
No,
like,
look,
I find it odd.
I see this with my friends all the time. I kind of think, and stay with me here, I kind of think that using a chatbot is kind of like watching porn, in the sense that a lot of people do it, but nobody talks about it.
Right.
I see this with my friends all the time.
Wait, what?
Like about the chatbots. They
I'm
all
very open.
they all, no, look, I am dead serious right now. They all have, and please forgive me, a lot of them even use Grok. Okay,
Oh, no.
They all have ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini. They all do it. It's on their home screens. I see their phones. They make stuff with it. But when you ask them, they're like, "Oh man, AI. Well, how it's so
I guess
evil."
it's somewhat similar to like people use Instagram and Facebook. but
they
tell
don't
you
like
they
it.
hate Meta.
Yes, that's what I mean. That's
Yeah.
what I mean.
It's a similar thing.
Everybody does it, but then when asked, imagine in a survey, right? Oh, you'd be like, "Oh no, I hate AI," and then on your phone you have like 3 different AI apps.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. There's a stigma, I guess, and
There is a
people
stigma. Yeah.
people just don't think about it. But yeah, but that or I mean, what's the alternative? That all of these companies are lying about user numbers? That's also possible, right? That OpenAI and Google,
Everyone's boosting it, but it still is being used by an unbelievable amount of people.
So let's say that instead of 2 billion people, let's say that 1 billion people are using it. All right, cool. So clearly there is, you could say, some user interest in chatbots.
Yeah.
So I think Apple is doing the right thing. Now, I actually think, and this is potentially the not even a hot take, but maybe a warm take, that if they do this correctly, if they don't screw it up a second or third or how many versions of Siri they've done time, they could actually be the one company that hasn't spent billions upon billions upon billions on AI and data centers, but they end up having the best experience on smartphones, especially when it comes to integrated AI.
Yeah.
They have spent the 1 billion with Google, and they have
quote
spent
unquote spent.
quote unquote
As if any money really went
quote
one way or
unquote
another.
spent the 1
Yeah.
billion with Google, and they have. I mean, they surely must have spent a sum of money on that data center that is currently sitting unused with private cloud compute.
Yeah.
So they have spent some money. They obviously have not spent nearly as much as OpenAI and Anthropic did with data centers and GPUs. But there is a potential for them to end up having a really nice user experience for a chatbot product that is deeply integrated with the system and actually works. Because all of these other companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, Perplexity, Google, and Google maybe less than the others because they do have Android, but all of these other AI labs, they wish they had a delivery platform like iOS or macOS, right? And especially on iOS because of smartphones, they have none of that, and they wish they had it, right? They could so deeply integrate with things like
some
your
of them
camera.
are spending hundreds of millions of dollars for the potential hope of a risk of a chance of maybe one day having it.
Exactly.
Yeah, Horace Daju wrote about this a couple weeks ago, and the sentence that jumped out at me is AI services. So he's builds the case that about $650 billion has been spent, I think, in building these things out. And he says AI services generate roughly $35 billion in total revenue, or 5% of what's being spent on infrastructure. Woo.
Yeah. So when you tell me that Apple is considering having like a dedicated app that lets you organize your chats, lets you have multiple views for your chats, and maybe a new UI in the dynamic island where your Siri responses come up in the dynamic island, but then you can expand them and you can continue the conversation, and then they're gonna deliver on that personal context and app intents that they promised. Like all of that, if it works, and it sounds like maybe this one time is gonna work, like it sounds incredible. Like to the point where I think if they deliver, and I cannot emphasize that if enough right now, a lot of the people like me or John, folks who have really spent a lot of time over the past year, right, exploring AI, trying to understand AI for productivity, especially. I think a lot of us will have to have a serious look at iOS and what Apple delivered and rethink some of our workflows. Like I was thinking about this. How many things I do in Claude right now that are like these Ruby Goldberg machines of prompts and projects and schedules. And they could easily be just simpler things integrated with Siri and my file manager, right? I think if it works, this is going to be incredible. And we may end up looking back at these past 3 years with OpenAI and Anthropic spending so much money and Apple coming in late spending $1 billion and having the best system of them all as a quite amusing and ironic turn of events.
It would be an incredible save. Like some people are like, oh,
Yes.
Apple planned it. No, they didn't. Like,
Nope.
No.
go back to 2024. This was not what they were thinking. But if it's how it turns out, just like, boy, the universe smiled upon you in a way that was unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could imagine, like I use different tools for different things, and like my kind of like quote unquote chatbot experiences, which have been mostly using ChatGPT, I could imagine just not using that anymore. But then some of the more work stuff that I've been doing with Claude, it doesn't seem like Apple's doing this. And this is actually a thought that I was having, which is like it feels like now there's a lot of stuff around coding and computer usage, right? It
Yes.
feels like that is like this area that is being identified. And I just wonder that come September, 6 months from now, where is this going to be? And like, will Apple's features still look innovative, right, on a 3-month timeline?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we still going to be in a scenario where we get to September and it's like, well, yeah, you have Siri on the Mac, but really what you still want is Claude. And I don't know if that's important or not, but it's going to be interesting to see like how much computer use do they really enable? Because I want it to be a lot, but I just don't know yet if that's what we're going to get.
I think you're right about the fact that that there's a split between chatbot experience and the more like productive, or some people call them agents, right, type of experience. And I think short term, if the Apple system works, companies like Perplexity are in trouble. And I mean, it's not a surprise that even Perplexity is sort of pivoting to that, to be more Claude-like, right, with computer and personal computer that they're doing. But I think the general chatbot experience, why would I use something else when a pretty good chatbot with web search is right there on my phone?
Yeah.
Whereas I may continue to use something like Claude or something like Perplexity Computer to do more productive things that Siri alone cannot do. But still, even then, there's the question, okay, but what if that app intents system actually works? Like, what if also there's a productivity story there, because the system that Apple talked about is actually pretty good? What if I could say, hey, assistant,
Hey.
take my latest, I don't know, I'm just imagining things, but like take the document that I'm working on in Obsidian and save it to working copy in GitHub and send the link to John, like something like that. Is that going to work? Because if it does, I mean, that entirely replaces a whole workflow that we built for Mac stories and around GitHub and Claude, for example. Like, is that stuff actually going to work? That's my big question right now.
I hope so.
Mm.
But they got to get this part right first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know this is what I'm saying, what I would like them to do. But if they don't do it and deliver everything else, I'll give them another
that's
year.
fine.
It's like, please just get it right. Like, do what you're supposed to be doing and get it right.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Fundera, powered by NerdWallet. Running a small business is tough, and when it's time to get a loan, it can feel impossible to find a lender you actually trust. Big banks say no. And then the internet, well, it's full of sketchy offers with sky-high rates and fine print you can barely read. It's super confusing out there for small businesses. So whether you need help covering payroll, managing cash flow, or investing in growth, you deserve better. And it should be simple. You don't want this taking up a bunch of your time when you're already busy running your small business. That's why you should check out the one small business marketplace that's designed for people like you, Fundera, powered by NerdWallet. It's a free, easy-to-use platform that lets you compare real financing offers from trusted lenders all in one place. You just do one application. They're realistic about small business. You don't need perfect credit to get started. There's no spam or no bait and switch, just personalized options that fit your business needs. And it's just a soft credit check up front, which doesn't impact your credit score. So you can check which loan fits you best without taking a hit there. It's free for you to use. And remember, they're not a lender, so you can trust them to help you get paired up with the right solution. I've run a small business for a long time, and if we were in a position where we needed to take a loan, I would want it to be this easy. And here's the best part. For a limited time, when you visit nerdwallet.com/connected and fill out the no obligation form, you're going to get VIP treatment and talk to a real person who knows all the ins and outs of small business lending. Don't risk your business on unreliable lenders. Go to nerdwallet.com/connected to find the funding you deserve. Fundera Inc., NMLS ID number 1240038. My thanks to Fundera, powered by NerdWallet, for their support of the show and all of Relay.
So Mark Gurman also published, I think this was last week, a profile of sorts of John Ternus, another one. I feel like there more and more of these are happening over time, which I just think continues to lend credence to the thing that Mark has been talking about for years now, that John Ternus is next in line to be the CEO of Apple. And so I've got some quotes that I want to read out some parts of it, and we can kind of talk about it as we go. Starting off, John Ternus has taken a bigger role in Apple's product marketing, sometimes personally editing copy for the website and product event materials. That feels really annoying. Right? That feels really annoying. Like, leave me alone. I write the website copy. Go away.
Yeah, Jaws is just in there in like a Pages document, and then Ternus' little head pops up, and he's like, "Hey,
this is me. I'm just deleting everything you write." It's like, that feels like a micromanaging. I'm not sure what that was meant to. I think this is meant like it's like taking a bigger role, like editing copy on the website. It's like, no, I don't think those two things go together. But fine.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to make a meta comment up front. Like, people are like, oh, this is boring, and I don't necessarily think that. But
I don't agree with that at all.
I do think that Gurman basically just reporting like a bunch of anecdotes, and there's not a real story in this profile. But yeah, whatever.
The story is I was right from Mark.
Oh, I thought you meant
Ternus will be the next CEO. Right?
Oh, yeah,
that's what he's saying. It's like, here's more stuff, more anecdotes that I have about him from people he's working with currently and has worked with in the past. Like, that's kind of what he's Mark is building a big case for himself here. And I'll tell you, if he got this one right, if this happens, man, this is bigger than the MacBook leak that he got. Like, he called this a long time ago and has followed it up the whole way through. Co-workers describe him as a good communicator who empowers employees, a management style that echoes Cook's. Apparently Ternus knows he needs bolder products as part of his leadership. Like, that's what he's looking at. And so at the moment, the list of bolder products that John Ternus is looking over is AI-powered home devices. This is something that he has taken charge of after previously thinking this category would not catch on.
Yeah.
He was not a fan of the HomePod, for example.
And the person who was in charge of that just left for Aura. And so something happened there for sure.
Yeah. Smart glasses, smart AirPods, and a smart pendant. We've heard about these before. And, quote, he's been a proponent of the development of a nearly 20-inch wide foldable iPad.
Yes.
Holy moly.
Yes, John. Yes.
Yes, he is.
John, do it. I dare you to do it, John. Do it.
I'm going to read this as a longer quote. In the early days of the iPad, Ternus argued the device's hardware capabilities weren't used to the fullest because its software platform wasn't taking advantage of the tablet's more powerful processor and bigger screen.
No kidding.
He pushed internally for a new operating system and eventually persuaded Federighi to build it. Ternus was also instrumental in creating iPad accessories such as stylus and a keyboard, and as well as their magnetic charging and pairing systems.
This, I think, is the most interesting part of Gurman's whole reporting. To me, it shows that Ternus is thinking about products holistically, and he's not just the hardware guy.
That's really good, isn't it?
It is really good. This is the most encouraging thing that I've read on Ternus maybe ever.
Like, I don't know if it's a good thing or not to kind of stay in your lane in an environment like this, right? Like, should he leave the software people alone and focus on hardware? Like, I can imagine that's the thing that some people would say, but at Apple, it feels like this stuff's supposed to work together. So it feels like if you're on an executive level, you should have an opinion about everything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I thought that this was good. I mean, I assume you think it's very good, Federico. You probably wanted to be CEO more than ever.
Yeah. What are we waiting for again?
Well, John Ternus was a driving force behind the touch bar and the butterfly keyboard, so it's not all good.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're in
can't
charge of
bat
something, the good and the bad fall to you.
So there's also this part in the article that talks about Ternus sometimes having a leadership style that has been unconventional for an Apple executive. So this is a story that late in the development of the Vision Pro, it was discovered that the AirPods Pro were missing a wireless frequency that would give them the ability to stream low latency audio, which was why Apple ended up shipping that USB-C version when they did. So they shipped it a little earlier than they would have otherwise. Remember, it's like, oh, here's USB-C, and it will enable low latency audio with the AirPods Pro. That was supposed to be in the AirPods Pro 2, just shipping, but it wasn't done right. And apparently Ternus took this on as a bit of a mission to find the person responsible for the error, which is a style of management that was considered a little old school for Apple. So apparently some people appreciated it, others did not. But then the article does also say this is not typical for him, but it was something that stood out, and he is considered a nice guy and tends to, quote, see mistakes as systematic problems that can be solved by better leadership instead of putting the onus on engineers, which all of this seems very conflicting. And so, like, I would like, in a report like this, I would like to know, does Ternus do this stuff a lot? Why did he do this? Like, why was this such a thing for him?
That's a pretty big screw up, I think. Like, you had to ship a whole new product to fix it, but
I agree.
But yeah, I mean, maybe he took it a little too personally or whatever. But I don't think it's bad if you try to figure out where a mistake was made and if people get in trouble for it. Like, I see. I mean, I see how that could be viewed as old school. That's a little maybe more Jobsian than Cookian, but
yes,
but I don't think that's awful either.
No, because ultimately it meant that people like us who spent $3,000 on the Vision Pro then had to spend another $300 on AirPods Pro.
Yeah. And
so, like, it's a good thing to be like, this was bad. Like, this shouldn't have happened because we've now put our customers in a very awkward position.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think people kind of fixated on this, but I don't think it's a sign that, he shouldn't be CEO. Maybe it's a sign he should be CEO.
That's
honestly.
what. Yes, my thought is that maybe there are times when this kind of thing is necessary. Like,
I mean, why? I mean, okay. Well, what's wrong with trying to find a person responsible for something?
Well, I mean, I guess it's what happens next, right? Is the thing. Like, was this person fired or demoted? Was that worth it? Right? These are the details that we don't.
Well, I mean, we all have
right?
responsibilities. If I screw up something, people are gonna find me for.
But
it
seems like at least in recent times, this appears to be not the way Apple has worked. Maybe it should work that way.
Yeah,
right?
maybe it should. Yes,
saying,
I agree. Maybe it should.
Maybe people should have to take responsibility for something. And like sometimes it just means that you go, gang, this is my problem, and now I'm going to fix it. Right. And like that's how you take responsibility for it or whatever. Yeah. And like maybe that is what happened. And maybe then this person involved was able to very quickly get this new version ready. Maybe this was quicker than they would have had it. And maybe that was the way it was resolved. But like it's a scenario like this of like, oh, well, this got screwed up. So I'm going to find the person responsible and then they're going to be tasked with fixing this problem. Like maybe that is the whole story, but we don't have that whole story. But yeah, I mean, everything that I read about Ternus is like it encourages me, and I wonder what Apple will be like. Like, what are the things that he will and will not focus on? And like, a lot of it talks about like obviously he has earned the trust of Tim and Tim's lieutenants, so there must be some similarities between their leadership styles and maybe some of the things they do and don't care about. But it surely would be a different company run by someone who came from the product side of the organization rather than the operations side of the organization.
Right. Which is interesting because for a long time, everyone believed that Jeff Williams was the stand-in, right? If Tim Cook got sick or got hit by a bus on a workout, then Williams would step in. That didn't happen. Jeff Williams retired, like good for him. but it's just there's a shift there somehow. Maybe the plan wasn't for Williams to be the permanent CEO if something happened to Cook, right? Maybe it's, or maybe the plan was if Williams has to step in, that Ternus would be after Williams. I don't know. There's something there, I think, but I do think the company would benefit from a product person at the top. That's not slander on my part against Tim Cook, but I think you can see that there are areas that the company has maybe struggled with a little bit because of that.
I mean, anything like this, over time there can be a desire or a benefit to a bit of reinvention, kind of reprioritizing. Again, Mark does talk about the continued expectation that Tim Cook would essentially remain the company's chief diplomat, even in this scenario.
Yeah.
So
and the company's made in Tim Cook's image now, right? The company is not going to suddenly shrink back down in size or, all these things that have happened in the last, 15 years almost. Like, Apple is what Apple is now, and Ternus is not inheriting the Steve Jobs Apple. He's inheriting the Tim Cook Apple, and whatever he does will build atop that, not a rose-colored version of the past.
I mean, but that idea that they're going to keep Tim Cook around as the diplomatic figure, like how long can that really be sustainable? Like
10 years?
I don't like for how many administrations Apple is going to be like, oh, there's a new president, let's roll out Grandpa and go to the White House. Like, is that?
I mean, I think a 10-year period is feasible.
Isn't he 65? Tim Cook.
So
I get it.
Your president's like 95.
It's true. No, it's true.
I get it, but like at some point, it should also be the CEO's responsibility to handle these
I agree,
things.
but I think those things they need, if you're going to do them in the right way, you do them slowly, right? So like Ternus takes over, Tim Cook remains as like egg roll, whatever it is, and in that role he is dealing with political figures, and after a while Ternus starts coming too, right? And you start to build these long-term relationships so then Tim can fully retire. I think that considering Apple's size and scale and the delicateness of the way that they interact with governments around the world, I think it would be a bad move to just be like, especially when some of the countries that they're working in, there's not going to be a new president, right? They're not going to. No, I'm not making that joke. But like, I'm looking at China, right? There's not going to be a new figure that is going to in like 2 years' time or whatever. Right? Like that's not, so there's long-term relationships are beneficial. And so building kind of Ternus as like an apprentice in that area, I can see the reason in doing that. And it's like, because I'm reading Apple in China right now, it's fantastic. But what I'm getting from that book is it took Tim Cook a long time to learn it. And he had no one to guide him.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that he is aware of the delicateness, not delicate. Anyway,
what?
I'm going to say delicacy. Is aware of the delicacy of trying to like establish those relationships, and that it might not be beneficial for him just to be like, "Oh, Xi Jinping, I'm gone now. Here's the new guy." Like that's complicated.
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you, and this is a serious question. So you can, I have an answer, so you can think about a serious answer if nothing.
What is this, a game?
Mind. It's not a game.
Okay.
If something doesn't jump to mind immediately, I can say mine. You're put in charge of Apple. What is the first thing that you do to make an impact?
To make an impact?
To be like, to establish yourself as the CEO. So you're like, this is my time now, right? Like, what is the thing that you come in and say, I'm doing this, and it helps establish like what you want the company to look like?
Discontinue the Mac Pro.
That is a great one. I like that. Let's get that out of there. No one needs it. Stephen, do you have something?
I would return design to an SVP position.
Oh, can I give a serious
Wait,
answer?
what does that mean?
So right now, design, industrial design, and human interface design is a vice president position.
Okay.
Make it an SVP. Make them SVPs.
So both of them are SVPs. You're not going to put like one person in charge of both?
No,
okay.
I think it's fine. They're separate. They are different things. If we've learned anything, they're different things. But elevating them to the level under the CEO says a lot about how Apple like thinks about design and values it. And I think that would be a big statement.
Do you have one, Federico?
Yes. Dual boot macOS and iPadOS on the iPad.
Love it. Mine is sweeping changes to the App Store cut, like
Okay.
massive
Yeah.
changes. Like it's like 10%, and but disincentivizes in-app purchases in games in some way. So like not to make less of a cut there, but I would be like huge changes. We're gonna get rid of all this regulatory trouble. We're gonna make it super fair, and that would be my thing. Just like let's just stop worrying about this for the amount of money that it would be in our balance sheet, which is small compared to everything else that we're doing, and let's just get rid of this monopoly stuff. Let's get this out of our lives so we can focus on other things. That would be my thing.
Yeah, but that's why we'll never be in charge of Apple. So
Yeah, these things feel too sane, and,
You know.
and it suggests maybe we'll make less money. I think Stevens is the only one where they don't have to worry about the money, so it's more likely that yours will happen.
I mean, I'm sure SVP comes with a raise, but it's not.
It's not like $200 million a year or whatever.
No, it's not. We're saving. It's more than $200 million. I'm sure if they got rid of the App Store thing, that is a good thing because he is inheriting a bunch of legal mess around the world, and so they could do the App Store changes. They could open up things like things that the EU has demanded, open them up worldwide. The fact that the iOS version that some people get is like fundamentally different in the way that it interacts with things like smartwatches.
Yep.
That is other people have, like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, Apple should take
there are
those
just
things
like
and make
features in macOS that just aren't available in certain parts of the world.
them. Yeah. So that's good. I think that's much more meaningful than like a product decision, although the product decisions are fun. The legal mess is clearly a big deal. I think that's it. John Ternus, if you want to come on the show, the invitation is open.
You're welcome.
Anytime.
We'll send you a Zoom link. You could just arrive whenever you like. You don't even need to warn us. We'll just send you the Zoom link. You just show up on any episode.
That's right. If you want to find links to the stuff we spoke about this week, head on over to relay.fm/connected/596. There's a couple other links in the show notes. You can leave feedback. That can be anonymous. You can tell us secrets, or you can write us a poem, or you can tell us about the difference between iPod docs and iPad docs, whatever you want to do. You can also join and get Connected Pro, which is the longer ad-free version of the show. We do it each and every week. This week we spoke about our current storage situations, spring cleaning, our computer setups, that sort of thing. So you go check that out. You can find us online. Prince Flexi Federico is the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. Related to that, they just updated their setups on the setup page.
Yes.
So go look at that. Your desk is very beautiful, Federico.
Thank you.
Very nice. Mike. He's the host of many shows here on Relay. You can check out his work at Cortex Brand and his blogging at theenthusiast.net. I've been your Attorney General Flexi. You can find my writing at 512pixels.net. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Century and Fundera. And until next week, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.